If it's not broke, don't fix it. I guess that's Samsung's approach to Android 15, because as you probably noticed, there is no Android 15 on the Samsung phones yet, the S24 series, S24 Ultra. And I've had a lot of questions about this because, of course, we've already seen Android 15 launch with the Pixel 9 series phones that came out last month, and it just rolled out to the OnePlus 12. So it's a very logical thing to sit around and go, okay, hey, I've got the S24 Ultra. It's supposed to be the best. Why isn't it getting updated? Like, where's my Android 15? And a lot of people want Android 15. Of course, I don't blame you. I want Android 15 on the phone as well. We've been waiting on OneUI 7 for a long time, and here's the answer. Here's why you don't have it yet. Samsung said recently at their developer conference that they're not going to push out Android 15, i.e. OneUI 7, until January when the S25 launches. So it's going to launch with the S25 series, which is very kind of odd. This is the first time this has happened in a really long time, and usually they're pretty Johnny on the spot with getting the update out. Other than a couple of years ago when we ran into problems with, I think it was Android 12. Was it Android 12? Is the one that had all the problems. So yeah, that's where it's at. Now, we talk about this in a couple of different ways. One, is it a bad thing? Not necessarily. And like I said, in the beginning, I said if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I took kind of the same approach with Google. I was irritated at first because I thought it should have launched with the phone. I mean, you make Android, you make the phone. You can't make them come out together. I mean, that it's kind of odd to me. But we've learned from this with Google before, whenever the Pixel 6 launched and Android was not ready. I believe that was Android 12, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, Android 12, and it had all the problems, right? We discovered very quickly it had a lot of problems. So there was a lot of criticism there with the phone launching with a busted version of Android that had a lot of problems. So, of course, Google makes Android, Samsung does not. So there's a little bit less criticism there because when you're Samsung, you're not making Android. You're at the whim of Google to put it out. And now the other reason that it's delayed, if you haven't noticed this or not, of course, Google's version is kind of, we like to call it stock or vanilla Android, which I don't really think it's stock or vanilla anymore. It's just a different flavor. But when you take a look at what you get with OneUI, it's heavily customized. There's a whole lot of stuff because it's all about the Galaxy. Sorry, I'm trying to pull my phone up and adjust the brightness. Whenever you have OneUI, it is a very customized, tailorized experience. Or tailorized is not a word. Customized and tailored experience to the phone. There's a lot of stuff that Samsung does to make Android work the way that they want it to and present it in the way that they want. So there's a lot of stuff that has to be updated. There's a lot of stuff that has to be changed. And this is going to kind of tie in because a lot of people still think that there's bloatware on Samsung phones because they have some redundancy in their apps. So Google apps look a certain way, and the Samsung apps also look a certain way. So whenever you create a theme, whenever you create basically your own launcher, your own version, you have to make the apps that are on there look similar, right? So some of the basic stuff that they have on there, like the Galaxy browser, what else do they have on there? The calculator, the calendar. There's lots of different apps that they have, and you want to make sure that it all looks uniform. You want to make sure that it all ties in. You want to make sure it works with your Samsung Galaxy account. You want to make sure you have continuity. So it's not that there's a bloatware. And I don't really consider bloatware was from back in the day whenever we had like the Galaxy S2 and you had 8 gigabytes of RAM and you had like 20 different apps pre-installed by Samsung and AT&T and Verizon, and it was taking up your space and you couldn't delete them. That's not the case anymore. One, you have a tremendous amount of space starting with 256 gigabytes of storage, but also many of the apps can be deleted, and I just don't see why people call it bloatware anymore. Like, it really isn't. It's like, it's okay if you have a calculator app and a Samsung Galaxy browser. Life's so hard for you. So anyway, I'm going to get off that tangent. But yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done. So it's not necessarily something that can be a switch flipped on overnight. There's a lot of testing that goes into it, a lot of stuff that has to make sure it's good. And apparently there's a fundamental rework for OneUI 7, and this is the big holdup. Apparently they're doing a lot of changes, changing the animations, changing the look, changing some of the interaction stuff. So it's going to be a whole, for lack of better words, like Aladdin from the Disney movie, a whole new world, right? Like Princess Jasmine's whole new world, what we're going to get with OneUI 7. So I'm excited for it. I'm a little disappointed though because, like I said, Google's already rolled it out. OnePlus now has it. I just got that set up. I made a video about that yesterday. So we're in this position right now where we're like, okay, well, it'll be here eventually, but I don't feel like it's been communicated very well. I mean, I guess if you Google it, you could probably find the answer. It was just kind of quietly mentioned at their developer conference saying it's going to launch with the S25. And hey, S25, there's a lot of cool things going on with that phone. We already know that we're going to get the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, which if you paid attention to my previous videos talking about it, I'm really excited about it because they're bringing so much power. It's going to be a 3nm processor, and it's supposed to be, it's clocked up to like 4.32 gigahertz, I believe, is the top speed that this thing can hit, which is crazy. I think I just saw some benchmarking on the S25, on a supposed S25 version of it, and I think they had it clocked at like 3.55 gigahertz. I don't know that they're actually going to push it to 4.32, but just the fact that it can go up to 4.32 is pretty insane. But what they're reporting is 40 something percent performance increase with 40% power reduction, which is just insane. Like normally it's like, all right, 15% increase, 10-15% power reduction. No, like 40% increase, 40% power reduction, 40% better GPU ray tracing. Like there's just so much stuff that I'm really excited about with this chip. So the S25, I think, is going to be one of the most exciting Samsung launches we've seen in a long time. At least from my perspective, as a giant tech nerd, I'm really excited about it. So I just really wanted to address that in this video. I know I've talked about it previously, but it's been a topic of conversation. I've had a lot of people asking me, if you've seen me talking about this before, I apologize that you had to watch another video. I appreciate it. But this is the thing. I wanted to go ahead and address this and also kind of talk about the pros and cons. I'm like, yeah, it's better whenever these guys, I think, can work on the product and make sure it's ready when it launches, because heaven forbid, we had OneUI 7 launch a few weeks ago when Android 15 launched and it had problems. Because when it has problems, all hell breaks loose. Everybody gets mad. Everybody's toast gets soggy, and it's just like nobody's in a good mood. Especially me, right? I don't like when products launch broken products. So I'm trying to take the same approach. At least I think I did with Google. I know initially I was upset that it didn't launch with it, but I believe I tempered and settled down a little bit. Like, look, we want it to be right. It's better to have it ready when it's ready than to push it out early and have problems. We've seen this movie before. We don't want to see the sequel. So OneUI 7 will be here in January. It'll be here with the S25. It'll be an exciting time. But until then, folks, you're stuck with Android 14 and OneUI 6.1. But hey, the good thing is that it works perfectly fine. It's a good phone. The S24 Ultra is a fantastic phone, and there's probably going to be some sales too coming very soon because of Black Friday. So I'll have a video about that. I want to talk, kind of like do an updated video, because the phone is almost a year old. Should you still consider buying it, especially with all the things we know about the S25 coming out? I think there's still a lot of reasons to. And just a little sneak peek, it's still going to be supported for 6 more years. It's still got the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3. It's still a really fantastic phone. So if you can get one and save some big bucks, it might work out for you, especially with a lot of these end-of-year carrier deals and specials and stuff like that. But that's all I got. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you have any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, all that stuff, go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.